Right, today's project at Lodge Shop is I've got to pull the water pump off my old 79 model Toyota Stout. This hose broke off. As you can see, the fitting's totally gone, so I'll have to replace the pump. First thing I've got to do is remove this radiator cover, or the shroud for the fan. Then I should be able to get access to the water pump. So let's get started. It's broken. There we go. Looks like I'll have to get the radiator out as well because I can't get into the fan bolts, and that shouldn't be too much trouble. Now I'm going to have to pull the battery out, it looks like. Radiator. Okay, so now we've got the radiator out. We've got a lot better access to get the water pump off, so I've just got to figure out how to do that. First thing I'll have to do is release the fan belt. Release the tension on that. There we go. And the fan belt off. Alternator bracket bolts are 14mm. The rest of them seem to be 12mm. Right, hoses. Oh, tight. My God, totally clogged that bypass hose. Totally clogged. And that thermostat cover, it snapped off there. So we're going to have to pull the thermostat off it now as well. What a bugger. Heater hose. In terrible condition. Oh well, we pulled the thermostat off. Crusty. Crusty. Crusty thermostat. Crusty thermostat housing. So I have always been running green coolant in the car. But there's a lot of muck in there. Hope we don't snap a bolt. Definitely don't want to be it's a bit of a tight one, that one. Got to be nearly there. Seems to be bound up inside the housing itself, which is okay. There we go, got it. Oh my goodness. What a mess. What a mess. So, now the pump looks to be the easiest part, hopefully. One bolt, two bolts, green blood running everywhere. At least all the bolts came out. That's the main thing. Wow. Got some screws on the back of it. Pump itself feels good, nice and tight, but with this bit broken here where the top radiator hose attaches, I've got nothing to latch onto again, hence needing a new pump because the housing is broken. So there you are, how to pull a water pump off a 79 model Toyota Stout. What a mess. What a mess, hey? Not too bad. I think when I put it all back together, I'll have to run something to flush everything through. My only guess is it was probably like that when I bought it. I've had this car for 20 years. There we go. 979 Toyota Stout. What a beast. There she is. All right. Well, I'll have to go and order all the parts, and when they come back I'll clean everything up and we'll have another job fitting it all. Okay, it's now time to reassemble the water pump and thermostat housing accessories on my old Toyota Stout. It's taken me quite a while because of this part here. So this hose end here was snapped off, and also here, this area here was all corroded, so there would have been no seal. So what I've done is machined out the inside, and then machined down a length of suitable pipe and basically glued it in with epoxy, 2-part epoxy. We're just drilling a few millimeters at a time, trying to keep it as straight as possible and just pour it out a little bit. Okay. So basically what's happened with this aluminium housing is this pipe here is broken. It's supposed to be quite long. What I'm going to do is slowly fit this. And as you can see, with a bit of grinding of this shaft here, or this pipe here, I can get it to actually fit in there. Once I can get it to come all the way down and be a tight fit, I'll then just get some like liquid metal or something like that, put it in there and put it in and hope for the best, basically. That's all I can think of doing with it. Oh, look at that. Exactly where we want it. Actually come through. So basically if I tap that, it'll be a tighter fit once I put the liquid metal around it. Hopefully that'll work. I'll put liquid metal around here. That's all nicely roughed up. Hopefully it'll work. It doesn't have that much pressure in it, the system, so I think it might be all right. We'll give it a go anyway. That's the best we can do. And then same here as well. I've drilled out the original hole, and then sleeved it with another piece of aluminium, and then drilled that bit of aluminium out, so the bolt will go through. So I'm pretty confident that it will seal. There's just enough on this flange here, I'm hoping, to seal, and it's all pretty flat. I've checked it with a straight edge. This housing here had also most of it broken off. What it had was a couple of hose stops here and here, so I've ground them off, and I'm confident, well, I know, I've tested that I can actually slide the hose and at least clamp it there. All right, the hoses seem just all right. One challenge I've got is to be able to get this hose to fit on this new fitting here, because it's obviously a smaller diameter, so I'll have to figure out some way of bulking that up. That shouldn't be a drama. I've got myself all new hardware, and as I said, all the hoses are still okay. Now, believe it or not, anywhere around the world for Toyota, these parts aren't available. Okay, so there's the motor. So the first task I've got to do is just clean up the facings here and here for the water pump. I did manage to get a brand new water pump, which is strange. You can buy a water pump, you can buy a lot of parts, but you can't buy these housings. You can't even buy hoses for these Toyota 5R Stout motors. It's a 2-litre motor. Anyway, so I'll reset up the camera and start cleaning up, and then we can walk through the assembly process and get it all up and running again. It's important to make sure all the old gasket and sealing compounds are removed. You've got a nice clean smooth surface for the parts to mate against. I'll be reassembling this without a gasket, because once again you cannot buy the gaskets even, so I'm going to use some RTV, high temperature RTV silicone, which will hopefully do the job. I'm really just trying to get the old girl patched up so I can use her again. There's definitely a lot of corrosion been happening. There's a lot of junk in here that needs to be scraped out. So what the plan is to put it all back together. I'll fill it with water just to make sure that there's no leaks. I mean, if there's a whole pile of leaks, I'm going to, you know, waste a lot of coolant, which I don't need to. If it's all seals up and runs okay, then what I'll do is drain it and flush it, and I'll probably put some sort of cleaning additive in it, just to try and wash a lot of this rubbish out or dissolve it out. Anyway, it's I can only do what I can do with it. So I might actually go and get the drill and put a wire brush on. So I'll be right back. Right, back again with the trusty Ryobi cordless drill and a wire brush. So that's looking quite good now. It still needs a little bit more. There's a bit of junk there, but it's coming up nicely. Anyway, I'll bring you back when that bit's done, because it's a bit boring just watching this. All right, it's come off a treat. Looks pretty good, nice and flat. So now what I'll do is just go down and do this bottom one. That's where the water pump goes. All right, so again, scraping all the junk off. You can see it peeling off the old gasket. The new water pump did come with a new gasket. This one looks like it's just, I don't know, there is a gasket there, but it's also been siliconed on. Get all those bits out of the inside of the engine. Yes, as I think I was saying before, I don't know why there's so much corrosion, because ever since I've had the car, which is about 20 years, and it's lived up here at the farm for that long, I've always run coolant in it. So either there's a problem with the coolant, I'm probably partially to blame for not changing it, or whoever had the car before has not used coolant in it, it's just used water, and so everything's corroding. So hopefully there's not serious damage, and I can keep running the old girl for a while. That's probably all right. All right, that's come up okay. Old alternator sounds a little bit noisy. I feel a bit of float in the pulley shaft there. All right, I'm going to go and get the parts now and offer them up and just double check everything. Actually, before that, I want to clean all the bolt holes out. Okay, so everything's all cleaned up now. Let's turn the light back on. Everything's all cleaned up. I've cleaned all the threads out, all the bolts go in. So what I'm going to do is just mock it up really quickly and just you know, double check that I've got everything right, that sort of thing. So water pump, which I did buy brand new. Ironically, there was nothing wrong with the old water pump apart from this fitting here had snapped off. That's what, that was the first thing we saw in the beginning of the video. All right, so that goes on there, and this goes on like so. All right, and then the thermostat goes in there, And I think this one goes this way. So looks pretty flash with all the new bits and pieces on. Camera up so you can actually see it. And there we go, all the parts together. So what I'll do now is just basically prep it all. I'll wipe all the surfaces down, I think, some brake cleaner or something like that, and then prepare all this elastic and then bolt it back up. I've just missed a fitting I've got to put in here as well off the old pump. So let me go and do that, and next time we come back I should be doing the final assembly and torque down. Just putting a really thin layer of this RTV silicone, so I don't have any gasket sealer. Just a thin layer, just to take up any sort of slack or anything like that. I'll do that surface, and I've got to do the pump surface as well. Okay, time to put the water pump on. I've pre-done all the bolts with anti-seize lubricant. The gasket's on the pump as well, and all the surfaces have been cleaned down. I probably should have gone and got the sockets that I need. I'll be right back. Click, click, click. All right, so that's all done. That's the pump on. Now we've got to put this water housing or thermostat housing on as well. Okay, and there's the housing, all siliconed up. So I've put extra on there because there's not much flange around some of the bolts. So I'm hoping that will seal. Click, click, click. All right, I hope that they're tight enough. All right, so that's done. I can see inside that the silicon's gone everywhere, so I'm really hoping I've got a good seal. All right, so that's that done. Now all I've got to do is put the thermostat in and put the fitting in here. I might do that fitting now, actually. Heaps of plumber's tape. Okay, one of the final pieces, the thermostat. All elastic. Probably put too much elastic on. I've never really used this stuff before. I've always used gaskets and jointing compound. So hopefully I don't stuff anything up, but I can't make it any worse than what it was. Alright, so that's done. And there's the finished product. Looks quite nice, or shiny. Another custom modification I've had to do is this pipe that I glued in there or machined in there is too thin to accept the pipe that comes out of here. So I've just found that if I put a bit of garden hose on it, it makes it the right diameter and it'll get clamped anyway. Well, I've taken a precaution and put Celastic in underneath this as well when I slid it on. So looking good so far. Okay, so I've come up against an unexpected hurdle. This, I don't know what you call it, this thing here that is pressed onto the water pump shaft that holds the fan. This here is the wrong diameter to fit through the pulley. It doesn't fit. So what I've done is I've pulled the one off the other pump, and now I've got a removing tool on here as well. A bit unfortunate I can't get my impact wrench in there, so I'm gonna have to do it the hard way just via a ratchet. Hopefully I'll be able to pull that off and then put that one on this one and then rob it to your uncle. It's a little tricky, but it's coming straight off. Definitely moving. Just got to get a bit more leverage on it, I think. Always good when you get to use tools which you haven't used for a long while, and it's good to have the tools like these when you need them. There we go. The holes were slightly out on the other one as well. Alright, so this should just press onto there and then I'm done. So that's pretty cool. Swap the parts over with a puller. Okay, so it should just be a matter of putting this in. I've just put a bit of Loctite mild thread locker on there as well. I'm not quite sure, but because it's brand new, I'm hoping it will just tap back on again. Oh yeah, it's going on. Hopefully I don't wreck the bearings. Oh, well, it's going on, albeit slowly. Perhaps I should have cleaned it first. Maybe. All right. Looks good. So it's on there. I remember the shaft was sticking out a little bit. Looks like there's run out on it, but I think that's just because it's rusty. Oh, look at that. And we're on. What a relief. What a bloody relief. Might just give it another little tap. All right, there we go. Another piece of the puzzle. All done. All right, next piece of the puzzle. This little bypass hose on. Oh, look at that. A sensational modification. Always easier doing worm drives with a socket and the right tool. Screwdrivers can often get awkward and you can never get them properly tight. You can see with this one I'm able to go right in. Now I better not break the hose. I think I'll just tighten everything up firm and then I'll have to look for leaks. Alright, so that's that bit done. Next thing, I'll put the pulley and fan on, I guess, and the fan belt. Oh, let's see how we can do this. Pretty straightforward. Gee whiz. I think it'll be this much problem to put it all back together. Oh, look at that. Got one. Try for another. Once you get the first one in, it's pretty straightforward. We should probably get a right size socket for this as well, 10mm. Right, and see if we can slip this belt back over. There we go. And it's just a matter of tightening the alternator back up. And that's on. So that's pretty good. Alright, that's those on. Piece of the puzzle is the crusty old radiator, which I hope will still work. It did work before coming out, so I don't see why it won't. Again, excellent thing about these old cars, nice and easy to work on. Nice and easy to work on. What I've got to do is make sure I can put this thing back in. Without destroying the radiator. Okay, I figured it out. Basically goes like this. And there. Alright, well, Mr. GoPro battery tells me it's about to run out, so I'll have to change the battery and then come back and do the rest of this stuff. Right, so we're just going to put this shroud back on. Also 12mm. Anyway, I'll come back when this is buttoned up. Bottom radiator hose. Hang on. The final piece of the puzzle, this little fella. Comes between there. There, it should work. Crappy hoses, clamps. Anyway, this system doesn't run any pressure, so it should be not too much of a drama. Okay, so this is the last hose. Was for the heater, but it's basically just been bypassed, so I don't need to bother about it. I'll just put it all back together. There we go. The temperature sensor, done. I'm pretty sure that is all the bits. Everything's done. Okay, so it's the next day. I've let the gasket, silicon gasket goo cure overnight because I wanted to make sure it got good adhesion and coverage, because there's a couple of areas where there's not much metal to metal contact. So it's been roughly 24 hours, so I'll chuck the coolant in. Nice fresh coolant concentrate, green. Also does antifreeze, anti-boil. Get it topped up, start the car up and see if there's any leaks. All right, so that's full. Well, so far so good. I can't see any leaks. It's a good sign. But of course we've got to wait for everything to warm up. So I'll let the car warm up a little bit and come back and see how we're going. The coolant level's still good in the tank, as you can see. So we'll just give it a few minutes to warm up a bit and wait for the thermostat to open. Looks like another successful job at Lodge Shop. I can see no leaks. The engine's been running for a good 10-15 minutes now. Everything seems to be good. I'm not sure if the thermostat's open yet. This hot hose isn't as hot as the top one. So I'll take it for a little spin and come back and do a wrap up. So, been for a test drive. Temperature gauge is good. No leaks that I can see. Evident. Everything looks just great. So we'll mark that off as a 100% success. Another quality job done at Lodge Shop.